Hello, I'm Jo Nelson, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Magic Writing Circle and why I started it. It was motivated by a quotation that I found years ago by a young child who defined art as when you have an idea and you draw a circle around it. And I just thought that was the most magnificent definition of art that you could imagine. So simple and just so true. And I have seen so many women with wonderful ideas, many ideas, but for lack of confidence or lack of writing skill, have not done something with all those ideas. And so I started the Magic Writing Circle. Can you imagine having someone say to you, "I love what you wrote"? Maybe it's the first time you've ever heard that in your life. And I can tell you that the joy and the boost of self-confidence that is visible in someone when they hear those words, that makes my heart soar. And I think that's what I'm here to do. So I want to tell you about a particular client who came actually with tears in her eyes, saying that she desperately wanted to be a working writer at this point in her life. But she said, no one in my family has ever acknowledged any of my talent in that area. So how can I ask for even a half hour of time to myself to write? Well, we started working. I was her coach, and I have a delightful surprise to share with you. She mentioned that she had picked up her favorite literary magazine just the other week, went home, got a nice hot cup of coffee, sat down with her feet up and so forth, and started breezing through the magazine. And to her absolute surprise, there was her name, credited as the author of the best story in this anthology that she had contributed to. Brava. I just can't imagine. I think that my joy in her success is probably as great as hers. It can happen to you. I've seen it happen many times. So I love words, and I love storytelling, and encouraging anyone to do that is my favorite thing. I've loved words since I was a kid. I was raised on a farm and used to love all the nature things of the trees and the rivers and the hills and the golden fields. And I would go down to the river and strip off birch bark from the birch trees, because we'd read about explorers way back, and I would make little storybooks out of birch bark. I want to warn you that birch bark is not the most ideal way to write a book with a ballpoint pen. However, the one thing I have determined is that the most fulfilling writing you can do is to tell your own story or stories. I took so much more pride in a small self-published book that I made to honor my mother than I did in the lovely big hardcover that we had published by Doubleday, a major publishing house, for a fantasy novel that I had co-authored. So I think the most beautiful things in our lives are those that we feel in our hearts. So I think that there's the next most beautiful story to be told is yours. I hope you check out Magic Writing Circle and enjoy the magic that happens. Thank you. All the information is below. Cheerio.